Hey everyone, welcome to our chart delineation. This is a very special episode of my first chart delineation at the school, but star of the show today is my dear friend Leslie Nease. I wanted to start doing some astrology around Survivor and all of the beautiful personalities that come with it. And I thought the very first person that I wanted to begin with is Leslie. Leslie is the first person I became friends with on Survivor, the first connection I ever made. And so everything sort of begins and ends with Leslie. Okay. So I want to introduce also Corey. Corey is a Survivor community member as well. So Leslie and Corey are my Survivor people. And then we have Caroline, Kathy, Luke and Lydia, and Barbie, who are the astrology community. So we're going to be sort of talking inside baseball in two directions. So everyone, if you have a question about Survivor, go ahead and ask my panel. If you have questions, Survivor people, if you have questions about astrology, this is an open forum. We can all share. And so I have a presentation. We're going to go through a few things about the game, some of the things in Leslie's chart, and then we'll open it up for collaboration and do some question and answer at the end. And if we have time, Barbie also added, she put together a little vibrational astrology about Leslie's chart. So fun fact about astrology is there's a million different things to look at, and everyone looks at different things. And what's funny is they usually tell a different version of the same story. So no matter how many times you look, it's kind of everything sort of underlines each thing that came before. And so with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. We were having difficulties in the Astro Dice community session, so everyone be nice. And here we go. Leslie's astrology. All right, so here she is. This is my beautiful friend Leslie, aka Mama, aka Sister Christian. So these are two of the names. If you know Leslie, you know Survivor China, you know these were things that she was called. So she called herself Mama, and that is something we're going to look at in her chart. And then Sister Christian also kind of became her another nickname. And then Leslie actually has a book out called The Deconstruction, Honoring the Journey, The Deconstruction of Sister Christian. Love to see it. And we'll talk a little bit more about especially that theme at the end. Okay, so for those who are not Corey and Leslie, I don't know how familiar you are with Survivor China. Survivor's also obviously legendary game show that Leslie and I were both fortunate enough to play. Here's our cast photo. We were season 15, and the game began outside Nanchang, China, June 25th of 2007, and it began at dawn because it's dramatic, okay? They wake you up in the night, pull you out of your bunk, and then you get thrown out into the game. The theme of our season was the art of war. Leslie and I are both Aries suns, so that was very appropriate for us. And a few of the major themes we're going to look at in Leslie's chart are her competitive spirit and the fact that she is a Survivor superfan. The mama energy that she embodies and claims. And like we said before, the deconstruction of Sister Christian. Now we're going to look a little bit at the transits during the game, like the first day of the game and then the next few, and then the lasting impact of those changes in Leslie's life. Because this was 18 years ago. This was a long time. We've known each other for a very long time. Then we're going to do a quick little look at the synastry with me, because fun fact, even though we're sitting here right next to each other, like the production did not think that we would get along, and they really were bothered by it, that we really just kind of like stuck together. And they were like, why are you friends with the Christian radio host? And I was like, because she's awesome. Like, what do you mean? And then at the end, we are going to talk, maybe if we have some time, Barbie's going to tell us about the vibrational astrology, and we'll have time for more questions and answers. So again, here's our tribe, a word that came up in Astro Dice, which made me smile. Tribe means something special to me. It means game show. Our tribe is called Fei Long, which means flying dragon. And here's Leslie right there, the heart and soul, the center of our tribe in the beginning. And here's me looking like I got dragged by my older brother. Someone said this picture looks like they made Aaron bring his little sister to Survivor, which didn't realize this was going to be such a lasting photograph. I would have put on shoes, you know? But please look at how muddy and dirty and disgusting it was there. And yes, furthering just to set the vibe. I know Corey knows this very well, but for anyone who hasn't watched, please look at the standing water. It's clay, so it would rain and just sit on top, and we would just be like ankle deep in water all the time. This is our team getting ready to play a reward. I think we lost that one. Do you remember? I think we lost it. All right, so this is Leslie's chart. We're going to look at it in whole sign houses. Her ascendant is at 0 degrees Virgo, so it just kind of keeps everything nice and clean for this delineation. The big things to look at, we have Aries sun in the 8th house. You have Cancer moon in the 11th house, and then she's a Virgo rising with the ruler of the ascendant being Mercury and Pisces in the 7th house. That just sets the tone. So for our astrology newbies, those are kind of things called the big three, is the sun, the moon, and the rising. The sun is like your identity, the moon is your emotions, and your rising sign is how people see you. And then in traditional astrology, they call it the high legs, and it's also, you look at the ruler of the ascendant. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is, and for my astrologers, jump in with anything that you want to comment on. We're a small enough group that I think we can be a little collaborative as we go. So one of the first things that I think people don't necessarily think of when they think of Leslie as a Survivor player is that she was really physical and fierce. So Aries stellium, Sun, a Venus retrograde, Saturn, Chiron, and the North Node all in Aries. So physical competitor, full of courage, jumped in. I want to point out here, this is a professional wrestler. This is Ashley Massaro, okay? This is a WWE diva. And Leslie is fighting her hand-to-hand combat. Survivor used to be really tough. Here she's fighting 2 against 3, these girls. Okay, so this red buff and this red buff are together against these 3. And here, same, we have 2 against 3. And if you see me standing here in the back just trying to disappear, well, I didn't have to do it. And if you'll notice, a theme of Survivor China is that they put us out in just our regular clothes. So my shirt became Leslie's skirt, and Leslie's shirt became my pants over here. So it's fun to see who's wearing whose clothing as we go through these photographs, because we were all really desperate for like cloth. And it was a time. All right, back to the astrology. Leslie has Mars and Sagittarius in the 4th house, which trines her Aries sun and that whole stellium by sign. So she's fierce, fit, and physical. She's a fitness instructor. So she is ready. She came ready to play and sort of jumped in there with all of these other girls. And if you'll notice, it's a co-ed wrestling on this one. So it was a different show back then. They don't do that anymore. She has an Aries sun in the 8th house, squaring the Cancer moon in the 11th. So competitive identity. It's in conflict, though, with her nurturing emotions. So while Leslie loved Survivor and wanted to play, she wanted to play hard, and I know you can, but I was there. She had a hard time actually lying to people, which is a part of that game. So that's that conflicting desire, right? She really wants to come and win, come in hard, play hard, fight hard, but she's like, but no, you need to, I don't want to hurt them. What if their feelings get hurt? And then I was so shocked because I was recruited to play the game. I kind of got pulled into it. Leslie told me that she had applied 11 times to play Survivor, and I thought she was mentally ill. I really thought like everyone who wanted to do this was completely insane. But so the super fan aspects. We have Mars and Sagittarius in the fourth. So she played an adventure game, but you have to live there. Like you have to live in the game the whole time. This isn't like you play an escape room and you go home after an hour. Like we lived there and it was horrible. And I went on to play more Survivor and I played in a different place too. And those 9 days were the hardest of any of them. So like props to everyone in China.
Yeah.
And then, okay, more super
Courtney,
fan.
can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So this was your first one, was it? Okay. You're both in your first one together. This is the first. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to clarifying that.
Yes.
The two Aries people being the initiators of the in the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll leave it at that for a minute.
To survive, I think, that fire.
We, it was not easy, I'll tell you that.
No.
So Leslie also has Neptune in Scorpio in the third house. So she has like sort of a buried imagination and an idealized version of what it means to be deceptive, but then in her community, but then her heart isn't in it. She can't do it. She's like, she had all the pieces of the strategic game, but the execution, it's like the Achilles heel is that heart, it was like so big. And then, like I said, she has Pallas, which is an asteroid that's about strategy. Pallas and Capricorn in the fifth house. So you're committed to this strategy game. She applied to play 11 times. And just so we're clear, this is Todd who ended up winning the game. He applied a few different times, and then this girl Amanda also applied a few different times. So a lot of people apply over and over to play the game, and then you get chosen. It's interesting to look at the astrology of when people get chosen, if they've applied several times, of which time they get on it. So now we have the chart, and we're going to look at the second theme that I'm going to bring up, and then I'll turn, in the end we can look at anything else too. But so Leslie self-identifies as mama, and if you are a consumer or a viewer of Survivor, you kind of know her as that. She made that identity, so she's mama, and then us three here were her munchkins, right? But if you look at the actual ages of people, she's only 12 years older than me. So I was like, you're not old enough to be my mom. Like, what is that? And in New York, I'm like, 38, that's like young. And she's like, no, but this. But if you look at the astrology, you see it is written in there. So Moon in Cancer, which is in its own rulership, in the 11th house, which rules groups. And it is out of bounds. So that means it's traveling above where most planets stop going. So it's kind of out there learning this like big lesson. And then the moon it squares the sun, which we already covered, but it's also making what's called a T-square. So there's all of these planets here in Libra and all of these planets here in Aries. And then you have the moon right there and a T-square. So there's so much pressure around the moon, and it's pretty powerful. So the T-square is with the North Node, Chiron, South Node, Jupiter, Uranus. And then if you do it by sign, then it also includes this Venus-Saturn conjunction with a Venus retrograde. You also have, by sign, opposing the moon, Ceres in Capricorn, also out of bounds, and that's at a negative declination. So that's at a southern declination. Also learning a lesson. Ceres is a myth about the mother who loses her child to the underworld and mourns her. So so the moon and Ceres are similar. They're nurturing feminine aspect, what's the word? Archetypes. And then Ceres in the fifth house rules children, and it makes a trine to Pluto in the first house. The first house is your identity, and Pluto is like an intensity. So you have this like intense comfort, and you identify as maternal. I can't relate, but I do, but I love it about you. And I was there in the front row. I saw it, and it's very sincere. It is very sincere, and people love Leslie because of this. I would argue that got you kicked out of the game, but we'll get there. Okay. Ruler of the fifth is Saturn in Aries. So the fifth house, Capricorn, the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. in Aries in the 8th house in a partile conjunction with Venus retrograde. So you identified as mom in spite of your actual age. Leslie was also Mrs. South Carolina in a beauty pageant. And so I feel like that the Venus retrograde conjuncting Saturn, it just you like rapid aged. Like you were always like putting yourself in the like your girlhood was like just you were already at this like maternal nurturing vibe, probably even as like a little girl. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can I ask Leslie a question?
Mhm.
Of course,
Based
that's
on
why
those
she's
things?
here.
Yeah. Leslie, were you come from a big family or not?
No, it was just me and my sister.
Okay. Were
And
you the older sister?
I am the younger sister, but I
Ah,
have like since I was a little girl, that's all I ever wanted was to be a mom.
okay.
And I was
Makes
told
sense.
at 18 that I would never have children. So I had to go through like I was so sad. I thought I don't know how like what else I'm going to be. Like I've just always wanted to be a mom, and so I married a guy who didn't want kids, and then we ended up having 4. So and he
Wow.
loves them all, but I
Uh,
think he was like
Lovely.
jackpot. You can't have kids.
Wow.
Well,
And then
see,
I
I was
did.
about to say there's no way you weren't going to have kids. I don't know who told you that.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no way.
Um,
And I knew that. It was weird.
hmm. And the other thing I was going to say, no wonder you've got this motherly instinct with that T square to the moon in Cancer, and the inability to lie. But the other thing I was going to say was, with that Venus Saturn, I was just going to make a comment. I know it's retrograde, but I haven't looked to see when it's gone direct and where it's coming back to. But to me, this is somebody who's going to come to their prime when they get older. So over 40, you probably find life got better.
Oh my
So,
gosh, yes. A
yeah.
thousand
And
percent.
and you find that as a youngster, you're very serious about relationships, and you probably find that you felt in some ways, although you wanted to be in control of things, everyone else controlled you,
Yes.
right?
100.
Luke is reading you for filth right now, Leslie. Go on, keep going.
Wait, do you know my story, Mr. Luke?
He
No, I
does
have no
not. I
idea.
did not. He does not know anything.
I
This
have
is
no
how
idea.
astrology works.
That's
Yeah. So
amazing.
the issue being is that you've always had to battle that. And to be quite honest, it's versions of being gaslit. You would probably be the family scapegoat. Everyone's giving you a hard time. Everyone blames you for everything, and no one ever takes responsibility for their own actions. And you're constantly in confusion. And it's
Oh,
taken you till you're over 40 to actually work it out and go, my God, hang on a minute. I'm not that person. I'm not this. I'm not that. And you start to actually come to your own. That's what I'm seeing in your chart. But I'll leave it there while Courtney keeps going.
Yeah, we'll pause it. We love it. We love to see it. You see how astrology is wild? I love it.
that
Okay.
is amazing. That's so cool.
All right.
Ah,
So moving on, continuing with the mama energy and the follow the close. So there was a twist in Survivor China where if the team won a reward challenge, which this yellow team, they never won anything, but they did win one reward challenge and they got the tarp and they got Leslie. So they got like 2 really good things. And in the chart, so Moon in Cancer in the 11th house, making a sextile to the ascendant and then trining the descendant. So nurturing emotions in groups are in flowing relation and bringing opportunities with yourself and with others. So the Cancer Moon, this nurturing energy is so easily felt. These are our enemies. These are our enemies. Look at them. They are hugging her. They don't know this woman. They just fought her on a ship or whatever that was, and they immediately embrace her. And then she goes from wearing, this is my shirt, and then the kid here with no shirt, that's his shirt. He gave her his clothes. We have nothing. All he had was a t-shirt and pants, and he gave her the shirt. So she was kidnapped and was immediately just enveloped by the other team. And they loved her too. And then that sowed a little bit of a discontented problem back when she came back to us on the red team. Okay, so we'll get Luke to chime in on this one if he's still watching. But now we come to this is, I think, probably the biggest theme in Leslie's chart, and it speaks to what Luke was just talking about. And it is the deconstruction of sister Christian. So Leslie was raised in, is it fundamentalist or?
it was evangelical Christian and also I've been fundamentalist as well. Yeah.
So a very rigid religious doctrine was assigned. Leslie was also in a military family, right? You like moved around. So anyway, we'll go just hit a couple of the highlights of astrology, and then I'm curious what everyone else, sees. But so the sun in Aries is parallel and opposite Jupiter in Libra. So the identity, your sun, is linked with Jupiter, which is your beliefs. So an opposition means that they're kind of across from each other, like in a duel, but then a conjunction or a parallel works like a conjunction where it means they're the same. So you identify with your beliefs, but they're conflicted, right? The moon in Cancer in the 11th, which is out of bounds in that big T square. We'll let the team kind of deconstruct that. And then we also Neptune and Scorpio in the 3rd. So a transformative empathy in community. So one thing about Leslie is that she came on Survivor specifically, if you had anything sort of before it. But I do remember like meeting you and being told like, oh, this is Sister Christian, the Christian radio host. And the assigned identity for her is that she's awful, like a mean Christian. And they're like, why do you like her so much? And I was like, because she's really wonderful. And like, even though you had all of that, like, doctrine or whatever, like we all saw through it. So nobody took it serious. I didn't take it seriously. They couldn't understand why we were friends. And I was like, yeah, I don't care about that stuff. Like she actually loves people. And this little visor here had, like, Leslie and I were together inseparable, except when she went to the other camp, but we were always together. And this visor she wore had like Bible verses and notes from her kids and her husband. And I just remember, like, I was not raised in any religion. I don't really have any of that baggage. But I remember for the first time in my life feeling like envious that she had something that she believed in that like brought comfort. And I was like, man, can I get a contact high off of this? Like, like, can someone please like help? Can we call Jesus? Like, can he help us? Like, because I sincerely believed in the sincerity of her belief, even though I don't really have those beliefs, if that makes sense to anyone. Corey watched us suffer, I know, so he can probably speak on the perception of that. And then we have, of course, Mercury in Pisces in the 7th house. So she talks to people. Mercury rules your thoughts, your mind, your communication. 7th house is other people. And Pisces is a mutable sign, which means it's open to change. So in speaking to other people and being in community with other people, Leslie she changes. She has incorporated so much change in her life over the past 18 years. It's been a privilege to see it. But again, also you're the exact same. So it's interesting. So she was a Christian radio host, and now she has a podcast on religious deconstruction. That's like pretty like dramatic pivot, but it's not. It's kind of the same thing. And then we have the ruler of the 7th and the 4th is Jupiter, which is in Libra in the 2nd house, and it conjuncts the South Node and Uranus. So South Node is like karmic past, things that are familiar. So you're born into this religious system. And then Uranus is a planet of awakening and breakthrough and chaos. So you were born to sort of like throw off the yoke of these other things.
But that's happening right now.
Yes.
Courtney.
Yes.
It's happening right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's the Saturn Neptune sitting there opposing Uranus, breaking, and the Jupiter. This is breaking free and dissolving old belief systems in some ways. Challenging them is probably the better way to do it, but it's also a sobering effect. It's not an easy thing to go through. It's a bit like being hung out to dry.
And also in a public way.
Yes. Yeah. And feeling very, what's the word for it? See, Saturn and Neptune can be bitter disappointment. It's like coming to terms with the fact that, oh my God, everything that I thought was real is not real for me anymore. That's the feeling that comes with it. It's horrible. It's not a good thing. But the positive thing about it, and it's about to hit your sun. It hasn't even happened yet.
There's more? I'm so excited.
Yeah, wait, there's more. That comes with steak knives. But it's you've got more stuff to go through. Look, my question to you, because I'm looking at this and I'm just getting a handle on what's going on. Was it more your mother or your father that was really behind the religious drive as a family, or was it purely a whole family thing? Everyone was in it together.
It was the mother, father, well, like I didn't grow up in Christianity until about 10 years old. And
Okay.
then,
Who
you know,
made the change?
my whole family like had this ridiculous change. Like my dad
Okay.
stopped drinking, he became a deacon, you know, and then everything got really constricted and scary. And yeah, that's when all the fundamentalism started.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Could you, for the sake of everybody, could you give us a little bit of a insight what the difference between a fundamentalist Christian versus a
Yeah.
normal Christian would be?
I don't know. I mean, I think a fundamentalist is like black. They see the world through these glasses that only see black and white. They
Okay.
don't see any color at all. And I only say that because I literally feel like when I see the world now, it is the rainbow. I see colors now. I feel freedom now that I never had before. And I never liked that it was black and white. And I always hated how we treated people. And I never liked, but because the Bible said it, I had to believe it. And it, I think being on Survivor, making friends with Courtney, making friends with Todd, who was a gay Mormon flight attendant, and just asking them questions, getting to know them. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like God's going to send them to hell because they don't believe the right way? This is so stupid. So I
Yeah.
started asking questions and the church did not like that I was asking questions. The church did not like it at all. So I think fundamentalists just are,
More
I
extreme.
they're very,
It's a
very,
high
very strict.
control, right? Like
Yes,
it's
very
like
high
about
control. Very
so like
high.
Methodists are Christians as well, but
Yeah,
they're very like read the book, like study
yeah.
yourself. Fundamentalist Christians are like, don't read the book, I'll tell you what it says.
Fundamentalists don't think that anybody who's not a fundamentalist is actually really a Christian. They are up
Okay.
high according to their belief system. They are up here and everybody is down here.
Okay.
And yeah, so you can't hang out with people who aren't the same religion. You can't read books that are from people who aren't the same. We had to burn our record albums because Elvis Presley. I remember my mom bawling when she threw her Elvis Presley album into the fire. It just very traumatic, very traumatic.
Which
Hmm.
brings us here to the Venus-Saturn conjunction, making an inconjunct to Pluto. And also Venus is parallel to Pluto. So Pluto is destruction and like the end times. So yeah, there's a lot of harsh energy. This is why I wanted to bring you here, Leslie, because I feel like it's like one thing for me to say it, but when everyone, now everyone's saying it. Now it's like, look, just taste the rainbow. Everyone like
Do you remember
it
when
is written.
do you remember approximately what date? I can nearly see that probably your Saturn was coming up to hit your moon
We're
around the time that the family became that way, or some other aspect. Do you know what sort of year it was that you all went down the path of being Christian?
Probably like 1979,
About
1978.
79. You're not exactly sure?
I'm not exactly sure, to be
Okay.
honest. I just
That's
know I
okay.
was in fourth grade. I was in fourth grade, and it was probably closer to the end. Yeah, it was probably 78. I mean, 79, sorry, because I was
if you were
10.
10, yeah. If you were 10, it was 79.
79. Let's say we go to March 79. No, Saturn is well and truly past. Would have been Saturn crossing the ascendant, I reckon, because Saturn would have been at 8 degree. I'm just going to March 79. So if you're talking 78, 79, during that transition, that Saturn, when Saturn crossed your ascendant, it would have been Saturn in Virgo. Um,
Which would have been when?
when it exactly crossed your ascendant, I'll give you an idea. Um, Wait a minute. I'm going back by the months. No, it might have been a bit earlier. First, I'm just rough guessing here because I'm just doing it quickly. You're talking probably around July, August 78.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that
And
was when
then
we
then it would
moved.
last. Then it would last for about 2.5 years.
Yeah, yeah. 2.5
Yeah.
years. And it literally, so I know that like the ladies from the church came to visit us and gave us presents because my mom was single at the time. And they gave us Christmas presents. So it must have been like November, but we had moved into the townhouse in August. And so like that totally tracks. And then, it was later on in 79 when my family all just like, we just said, okay, we're believing in Jesus. We don't want to go to hell. And we fully went in, and then we moved to, my mom remarried my dad, and we moved to California and
Now,
joined a very fundamentalist church.
what happened around, and I'm going to make a guess, sort of around late 1980, so probably the year after. So how you would have
Yeah,
been what?
we left a fundamentalist church, and I'm not really sure what happened. I don't know why my parents left, but when we left, we got hate mail from this church, like
Yeah,
saying,
okay.
we've seen your daughters in blue jeans at the roller rink. We've seen, like it was so scary. Like, and so we
But-
went from fundamentalist to more not so fundamentalist church at that point.
Okay. Just so everyone knows astrologically what I'm looking at when Saturn hit her Pluto. But at the same time, it would have been opposing Mercury and getting mail from other people telling you that we hate you, which is Saturn and Pluto can be hate,
Communication.
and the communication from it. But to the point though, where you actually upped and left and moved state, is that correct?
Yeah, it was probably a few months. I think it was 1982. We moved to Okinawa, Japan. My dad was in the military.
Oh, okay. So that's a complete change.
Mm.
All right.
I remember being
I
so
love-
afraid. I was like, if the rapture happens and we're in Japan, are we going to be on the other side of the heaven and not see my friend? Like, I was so afraid to move because I was so afraid the rapture would come. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's horrifying. It's bullshit, but it's what they teach.
When did
Isn't it
you move?
amazing though?
did you
People
say?
from Survivor, everyone is so interesting. Like,
Mhm.
When
like
did
I-
you move? Sorry.
We moved in the summer of 1982.
So that would be what, around July,
Yeah. Mhm.
June, July.
Is the rapture like Armageddon? Is that what they
The
preach, is it?
rapture, according to the theology I was brought up in and believed up until the day I left it, was that Jesus was going to come back and take all the Christians. They would disappear,
Mhm.
and
Right.
and
The
the Holy
chosen
Spirit would then be lifted off the earth, and then people would be killing each other, and Armageddon would happen. And then after the 7 years, everybody, would be cleared off the world, and we'd come back and live forever with Jesus. It's so embarrassing to say it. Like, I totally believed this, but I really,
The guilt
I
and
mean,
control.
it was so
Yes.
controlling
Yeah.
and terrifying.
Venus,
It was
Saturn,
all about fear. It was all
parallel
about fear.
Pluto.
Fear of
That's
hell,
like-
hang on.
fear of the rapture.
If I jump in for a sec, astrologically, just to explain. So what I was looking for, the first one was when you left the fundamentalist church, was when Saturn conjuncted Pluto. But when you left and went overseas was when Pluto conjuncted your Saturn.
So what does that mean?
Well, what it means is these things work in cycles and the planetary energies work together.
Mm.
Pluto's the one that stays longer and has more of an impact and usually breaks something down or finalizes and gets rid of things, usually things outside of your control. Saturn is about your structure and Saturn is fear. So often they control people through fear. Okay. So, you heard the expression, the fear of God, which I think is
Yeah.
crazy because at the end of the day, God represents love.
Sure.
So
Right, exactly.
and
Yeah.
love be fear. So it's like you can't scare people into loving you. But that's an opinion. But I'm just saying that's sort of where I see it there. But
No,
so
I
when
agree.
you've got these planets, one's triggering one, which causes a beginning of an event, which means you went out of an evangelistic church to maybe to another evangelistic church.
Yeah. Mhm.
That by the time it came round and Pluto was doing its transit in your chart and hit your Saturn, that would have been the immense fear that you felt. So the immense fear for you was, oh no, I'm leaving and moving to Japan. But you'd
Yeah.
had this stuff ingrained in such a way that you've gone, oh my God. And then after that, Pluto would have opposed your Jupiter and Uranus, which may be when you came back or something. Let's have a look at that while I'm here quickly. go ahead a year.
Pluto's interesting, isn't it?
Pluto transits are not fun usually.
Yeah.
Break,
People say, oh, they're great. I've done this, I've done that. I go, yeah, great, good on you. Well
break
done,
down
lady.
and rebuild, endings and beginnings. Misuse of power is what I've got in my notes.
Hang on.
Mm.
Being
No,
a student of astrology.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, that was not Pluto conjunct Saturn. It was Pluto opposing Saturn. So the opposition, yeah. So that's what it was. And was it? No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. Why have I got? Oh, yeah. Okay, opposing Saturn. Sorry, I was trying to look for the Jupiter Uranus. No, that was earlier. Okay, no, that's all it was. So that would have been what brought in a lot of the fear and the change. Not a great position to be in. Okay, I'll leave it. You keep going, Courtney. Sorry, I'm just jumping in where I.
Thank you for this is the
Yeah.
collaboration I was looking for because I don't want to be doing a whole monologue, but I will. All right, continue. So now we get to this is the transit. So Leslie's in the inner wheel, and the outer wheel is the transits of the first day of the game. So that's July or June 25th, 2007. And so just running through, we go to a Buddhist temple, right? Episode 1, Corey knows this well. I fight with this monk. Me and him get into it because like he's a little sassy, okay? And then they made us like participate in this ceremony of some kind, and only 4 people had to be in it. And then so I was one of the people that was in it, and then Leslie exited the temple because of her beliefs at the time. She was not the only one. Someone else did too, but they didn't put that on TV. They let her take all the heat for that. But anyway, so they made a whole meal out of her leaving the temple. And then we'll run through the astrology. Okay, so beginning of the game, Survivor, this is like, a big thing in her life. She's a fan of the show, a fan of the game, has applied 11 times. She finally gets here. And we have the sun transiting at 3 degrees of Cancer, exactly conjuncting her moon at 3 degrees of Cancer. Mercury is retrograde in the beginning of our game, which is great. Super fun for everyone. Saturn and Venus are moving towards a conjunction in Leslie's 12th house. So if you notice, she's got this partite conjunction 25 degrees with Venus retrograde and Saturn. And now here the same aspect is closing as the game begins. We have Jupiter in conjunction with the Mars and Sagittarius, so her adventurous side, with this part of her that like needs to go suffer in the woods is expanding and being put on stage. Uranus is moving. It's in the neighborhood of a conjunction with the Mercury in Pisces, so the awakening of her thoughts is like building, right? This is like starting to get triggered, and in connection with other people, which is people like me, people like
Courtney,
especially with Todd.
It's not
Yes.
just the Mercury. It's actually at that time, transiting wise, Venus was making a quincunx to Uranus there very closely. So that was about to be triggered at that point when this was starting. That was being triggered.
Look,
'Cause
it's coming from the 12th house. So with so religion is the 9th house and spirituality is the 12th house. So that your own spirituality is sort of like shaking up the thoughts that you've been programmed with at this point. And Venus is loving people and having relationships. And we
But hang
all
on, you
go on.
missed one other big one. Neptune's opposing Saturn, exact. That's the spiritual change.
Wow.
It's like that's where you go, hang on a minute, all of my old structures and my spiritual beliefs are now going to get challenged through this period. By who's going to do it? When opposition usually means someone else brings it into your life. It's through our form of relationship. So in this case, it's the 6th to the 12th house. So it's people you're working with or in collaboration with. So you all of a sudden you were thrown into this place, out in the bush. You made your home in the bush, the Jupiter, Sagittarius, and Mars down there. Makes me laugh, but that's called great. You did sign up for it. And and then you've got Neptune opposing Saturn. So that's going to bring in people who have a very different belief system to you. And that's the first part of the disappointment, the discovering of like, hang on, things aren't what I thought they were. You would
Yeah.
have been going through a hell of a time at this point.
Oh, it was the hardest part of Survivor for me, hands down. And I got a
Yeah.
parasite, but that was nothing compared to what I was going through.
Well, see,
Mm.
that's the
Get
other
sick.
thing.
It's also Neptune in the
Parasite,
sixth.
that's the sixth house. Did you have problems with your feet
We
at
all
the
Uh,
had,
time?
we all did because of the water.
Yeah.
I had a cellulitis infection on my right foot.
Yeah, there you go. So
Mhm.
that's that whole Neptune Saturn. You're
Mm.
lucky it didn't become necrotic or a problem. Glad they've got people medical there to help you. But yeah, you were going to go through. This was not that Mercury retrograde to start it. I mean, why don't they get astrologers to determine when they're going to start a show?
Make a
You
phone
know.
call, Corey. Tell them to call me. And then also Pluto's and Jupiter both transiting the fourth house. So like your foundation is being like just dragged and changed and burned. And so this was like the first day of the rest of your life in this crazy game that you sign up for. This the adventure of a lifetime, right? And it changes. I think it changes everyone who
Who
plays
plays it?
it.
Yeah.
I think it does. No matter what, it's like something. It really like I did a thing with I have a yoga teacher who like would listen to my stories about astrology or about Survivor, and she's like, "You're doing like the Yoga Sutras and the Gita, and because it's like you're out here suffering for just like 40 days, like forever, and also everyone is against you." All your friends are actually against you, right? Like that's the other thing. It's like you make these friends and then you have to betray them. So that messes with people in different ways. And, if you're interested in people, you're interested in Survivor. If you're interested in people, you're interested in astrology. So there is like, hopefully we can blend these little worlds together. All right. So this is not the first day, but this is our first challenge. So I just want to point out, look at how happy and excited she is. Look at how miserable
I'm looking at you.
I am.
You don't look that happy and excited. What's the bag for?
Miserable. This is our
Is that
It's
you're gonna
first.
miserable.
you're gonna head off and run away, are you? Yeah.
Well, no, I get chained to this dragon, and then we all have to carry these poles and run through a maze, and we go through water, but we win the challenge. And so the other team, the yellow team, is the one who had someone go home, and I remember being like, "Oh man, I'm not going to be the first person voted off." And then I was like, "Oh no, I have to stay here for 3 more days. This is horrible." So, but yeah, this is the difference of someone who is excited to play and someone who's like, "When is this going to be over?" And then Todd, this is our dear friend Todd, who ended up winning the game, and he co-hosts with Leslie on their podcast. He's
Mhm.
also a Survivor super fan and loved every second of it. They're all mentally ill, like I said. All right, so now we're gonna breeze through. So we covered a few things that happened in the game. Now, unfortunately, we're gonna jump to the last day. So Leslie was there till day 9. And this is our first tribal council. This is the first time our team lost a challenge where we have to vote someone out. I I thought it was going to be me for reasons, and I even I was trying to leave. I wanted to leave. I was like, you can't keep me here. I'm trying to leave. And then they kind of straight up lied to me because they're like, well, just let yourself get voted out. Like, don't ruin our show. I was like, okay. So the only person who stayed with me is Leslie. She was with me all day. We voted against this person, and everybody else had a plan that we didn't know about. Okay. So they were betraying Leslie, which I didn't know about, she didn't know about. And they were betraying her because that whole other team liked her too much. And Leslie had gotten an advantage, and she made the mistake of telling Todd, who then was like, well, if we get rid of Leslie, then I'm the only one that knows about the advantage, right? So she's too good of a player. And when everybody loves you, they don't want you there anymore because that's how you win, is you have to get everyone to vote for you at the end, right? So we did not know that was happening. And then Todd is trying to comfort her because he betrayed her. She's comforting him because he betrayed her. Can you look at this woman? I'm crying, okay? Because I was like, oh no, now I have to stay here and I don't have my friend anymore. This is like the worst thing this is terrible. So here we have this is the day 9. This is our the tribal council where Leslie leaves the game. And then it's only, it's a week. So we have some movement in the planets. But again, just to review, we have this aspect. The Venus has now passed Saturn in the 12th house. Mercury is still retrograding and it's almost at her moon. So the mind is like reversing all the stuff, the emotions are a mess, right? She is sick at this point. Leslie was also very sick at this point in the game. You're free to share that. I won't share it, but you can share it. And also, I think it's interesting. You have just done the angle. I put the time for 7 p.m. because Tribal Council is at sunset. And so I just put it for there. And so the IC happens to be like on this Venus, or it's in this Aries section. And she went home, right? Like she went to the IC. We still have Uranus over here with Mercury, and then Jupiter is now exactly conjuncting the Mars. So the game, this is like the climax of the game for her. And this was
I think
terrible for
where
me.
oh, you can hear me. I think where the separation lies is in that Venus leaving Saturn, and Saturn's just, if you have a look, it's just leaving aspect with Neptune. So you're talking 2234 and 2138. I think once they get about 1 degree away, the energy is sort of shifted, it's moved. Basically, what it's saying, Leslie, is you were destined to be thrown out.
I believe that.
know?
I really do
Yeah.
because it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
It really didn't make sense.
The things were against you from the time you walked in, is what I see.
Well,
But you were there for a reason, I'd say, and that is to learn new things.
to awaken. I needed to
Yes,
wake up.
exactly.
I really did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, the other thing about Saturn is all about maturity.
Yeah.
Saturn's all about harsh lessons of maturity and sobering up, you could say. That's literally Saturn Neptune oppositions like that can often be things like, drinking is not good for me. I'm not going to do that anymore. Oh, no. I get into bad things. I get depressed. I get upset. People who can't drink gin because they cry all the time and they get upset and they get emotional. Saturn Neptune oppositions, that sort of thing. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And
Anyway.
so she was the lesson had been learned. She was very sick, so it was actually, in hindsight we were like, it's actually probably for the best, because it was actually low-key pretty dangerous in China. We all were suffering in many different ways. And then here we have Sinistry with me, which I just think is interesting because like they were so gagged that we were like besties. But like, look, we have Sun conjuncting Sun, my little Aries stellium hanging out with her Aries stellium. I have Ceres in Cancer, her moon in Cancer. I'm nice. I'm caring about other people in groups. I'm not necessarily wishing to have my own children, but I do care for the people that are my chosen family, right? We have Jupiter pretty closely conjoining in Libra. It's at the 12 years. And her Mars in the 4th, my moon in the 4th, my ascendant in the 4th for her. So there's like all of these little places where we have affinity. We also both have a Mercury in Pisces, and she has Venus conjunct Saturn. I have Venus opposite Saturn. So we both have like, there's so many things that bring us into affinity. We've been friends for 18 years since we met on this, and the craziest way you can probably meet somebody, and we've had this enduring friendship that still, I think, baffles a casual viewer. Like people like Corey understand, like he gets it. Anyone who was there, like they get it, but they didn't show it really on TV. I could barely find any pictures of us together. So that's interesting. And then this is just her whole sign in Placidus. You can see the slight difference is that in a Placidus chart, there's interception of Cancer and Capricorn. And those are kind of big themes for her. So it's interesting to see that they're whatever. But anyway, I left it in whole sign for that reason. And then we have here, this is Leslie's book. So honoring the journey, the deconstruction of Sister Christian, and the foreword is written by our darling Todd. And this is how you can follow her. And this is Todd and Leslie's podcast, which I'm going to be on pretty soon. So we'll be talking about bringing more astrology to the survivor community. And then, yeah, I'll bring up some of the other, go back to, well, we can leave it on just this chart. And then if there's anything else that anyone wants to chime in with, or we can turn it over to Barbie to talk about the vibrational astrology aspect.
I reckon let Barbie have a bit of a run.
I'm
Well,
curious because
okay,
I
and
did
I
scan
I
a
feel
little bit.
like I'm doing all the talking, so
Yeah, well, I just put something quick together. It's a little presentation. I do have another wing person here, Kathy. I'm just going to throw you in the loop, Kathy, if you see something, because Kathy's a VA astrologer as well.
Can I jump in for a sec, Barbie? So
Sure.
Leslie, just so you understand, and Corey as well, Courtney introduced that there's various versions of astrology that can be used. And the simplest way to do it, look, you've got Chinese astrology. You've got Vedic astrology, which the Indian cultures do. You've got Western astrology. What we base it on is Mesopotamian. So it's sort of it came out of Mesopotamia, and it was taken on by the Greeks and the Hellenistic. And the Hellenistic is sort of to do with the whole signs. It's not exactly, but it's some of it. And so is the Vedic. And then you've got the difference with Placidus means that what that's taken from is where it divides the sky up into different houses by exact degrees versus we're going to say, and I can't really point it, but where you've got the breakouts of all the houses, which is the different segments around the chart. What Courtney's been using is we're saying that because you've got Virgo ascendant, see the AS and 00, and then that's the Virgo symbol in 10 minutes. Your ascendant is literally 0 degrees of Virgo, which is interesting because it means you can actually access energies from Leo as well, because it's very, very close. But it means that we're saying that all the planets sit within, all the degrees of it sit in that one house. But if you go to the next one, Placidus, you'll see that the house in actual physical size, based on where you are on the Earth, finished at 23 degrees. So it's not an exact circle. It's not an exact breakup. And that's what we mean by there's different systems. Now, there's other ways of doing it. And what Barbie and Kathy did was what we call vibrational astrology. So, and then there's even other systems, like the Germans use what they call cosmobiology. They don't even use a house system in a chart. They just use midpoints and planetary positions. So these are all systems that are developed over thousands of years. And I don't know if you're aware, but if anyone ever asks you, I'd really like to get into the Vatican and get hold of their astrology books, because they got the biggest astrology library in the world. Yet they profess that astrology shouldn't be taught. So going back in history, astrology was a university subject. You're talking about famous astrologers, Hippocrates. Everyone takes a Hippocratic oath for medicine, yet they discredit any form of natural medicine, because Hippocrates said you've got to understand the person before you can heal them. It's great in order to sort of cover it over with let's use the example of, say, pharmaceutical medications to cover a problem. But, you go into any, in your case, drugstore, or in our case, chemist, you walk in there and you see the little old people standing up there getting their little blister packs of all their tablets, because one tablet fixes one thing, but it causes this problem, and you need that one to fix that one, and that one to fix that one, and that one to fix that one. And that's all great if you want to live like that, but there's another way. You're not fixing the problem. So the astrology taught you that. That's sort of been pushed to the side.
What is it? Turning off the fire alarm without putting out the fire. That's what one doctor said to me. That's what we do.
Yeah. So it's that sort of thing. I might go into the political side of all that, and there's a place for both. And then you've got things like, we've been to Florence and seen the Galileo Museum. Now, that was a very funny scenario, because Galileo was put under house arrest for 27 years or something, because he told the churches that we evolved around the sun, that the sun didn't evolve around us. So, a very smart man, and they were all astrologers that did that. I mean, you look at the 3 wise men that found Jesus. How the hell did they find him?
Stars.
Astrologers.
Yeah. It's not, stars don't move in the sky, planets do. So what I believe is there was a very auspicious time. There's a great scene from Monty Python where they did Life of Brian, and the astrologers turn up because they knew where Brian was, or where Jesus was, and then they walked in and they found Brian instead. And that's a very funny scene. But the thing was, my opinion is really simple. They knew and calculated the auspicious nature of the planetary positions. It was probably a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, more than likely in Pisces at the time, and they knew he was going to be the spiritual, the god, and they set out to find him. You do not find a baby in a stable in Bethlehem, even if the whole story is real, unless you knew what time they were born and you asked around.
Yeah.
And the only baby born at that time was that baby, and you went, well, he's the Messiah. So this is all going back thousands and thousands of years of knowledge and study and development. So in that, why I'm going down this path is that there's whole heaps of different systems. Even, the Native Americans had their own system. The Chinese have their system. Aboriginals here in Australia have their dream time. These are lessons that are passed down. Tarot to me is just, that's just a picture version of astrology simplified for the same purpose, because people didn't know how to read and write. Didn't mean they weren't smart, but they created, when you look at the cards, they're broken out into elements: fire, earth, air, and water, which is exactly the same as the astrology. And when you look at your playing card deck, they're just the tarot cards with the pages taken out and no major arcana cards. So everything over the years has been lost. History's been rewritten.
Nostradamus too.
Nostradamus was another astrologer, but he was not just an astrologer. He was a seer and a psychic as well, because you don't see that far in advance with visions like he did. But if you think about it, he had to hide it all. So there's some sad parts about it, but this is where. So what the purpose of my conversation is that Barbie's about to go through a different version of astrology.
Okay.
Something that not every astrologer understands. I haven't done vibrational astrology as such, so it'll be interesting.
But I did read a little bit of what she put together, and I think you'll find it very interesting. So, Barbie, if please.
Over to you.
Okay, here we are. Okay, so yes, we are jumping from one ancient system to another system. It's more mathematical. It's the harmonics. We do work with harmonics when we're looking at Western, astrology, because we look at, the conjunction is, the first, and the second is opposition, and the third is, sextile. And those are really foreign words to you, Leslie. Maybe you might have heard them with listening to Courtney sometimes, or listen to some astro, podcasts. But here we continue with the harmonics. They go further up, and they're a vibration. So everybody has a vibration that they vibrate at. And there's what you can do is Linda Berry has come up with a platform, a program that she is built into the Sirius program. This is a different software than what Courtney was using. And this software here, what you can do is find that vibration in your natal chart. So first of all, I would want to say, is this your time, March 25th, 1969, 3:30? Yes. And one thing at 3:30 p.m. would be something auspicious, is because not always somebody's born on that exact time. That can happen. Sometimes you just write down the time. Well, with vibrational astrology, we don't need to know exact, we can have some movement in minutes, right? Right, Kathy? Is that, that's correct,
Well, to some extent. I mean, and for the lower vibrations, it's not as important, but once you start getting to the higher vibrations, it kind of does get important to have the exact time. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we look at the 296, but we're going to look at her first three, and they're sort of low. Share
your screen, Bobby. Do you have something to share? Or?
Oh, can you see it?
I see it.
No.
Yeah,
I don't.
No, I'm just saying, I'm talking about like I'm off. So what I can do is I'm going to show you how this works, but I put a little presentation together. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to run this frequency of this chart. And when it comes out.
You can't see it, is that right?
You can see it now.
Who can't?
Oh,
You can
okay,
see
good.
it? Okay.
We're good.
All
Yeah.
right. And so here the vibration shows up here in this. Here we look, and when we look at the first 32 vibrations, we start from the beginning, and here we have a 4, and then it's almost like, you know, the lottery. You're looking for those balls that they're gonna. Did I win a ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is a 16, and then the third one is a 29, right? And so we look at those 3, but then we kind of jump over here and we look at what is the highest vibration. It's 296. So what I went ahead and did to make this a little bit easier for I can show and tell, I made a little bit presentation on this where you can see how this works. I'm going to go from the current slide. Come on, Barbie. Slideshow and current slide. Okay, so here we are. And we're going to go here. So here we were at when I pulled this up, and we have the 4. So the 4 is going to tell you a little bit about who you are. That's more of a motivation, a drive, and a challenge to push yourself through, which you have that. You showed us that with Courtney, right? That's what you have. And you have that spark to change. So that, again, that's going to be that uranium thing you kind of see there. So you're going to see that coming up as well. And then you have the 16. The 16 is the conscious evaluation of your drive. It's about making deliberating moves and planning ahead. And that's all about what Courtney was saying, kind of how you act and how you do things. Here it is. Here's 29, expanding horizons, immersing in different life paths, exploring beyond your own boundaries. There you go. And that's what, those are your first 3 vibes.
Wow.
And then we take the 296, and then what we do is we break it down into this here. When I go back, I'm going to try to jump back into the other, but if I take this, I can take this 296 and I can break it down, and it's actually a 37 times 8. And so that 296 combination is a profound reflection of that 37, which is a practical manifestation of that V8, and it amplifies that. That V8 amplifies the 2 energy. This vibration encourages your growth through collaboration and balance. You have a deep focus and work and lead to powerful outcomes. So this is really who you are. You know, this is how you do this. So you have this deep focus, what works, leads, and powerful outcomes, enhances the partnerships and relationships and harmony. And you show that you do that. There's that, you know, how you are. Does that sound like you?
100%. Yes.
100%.
100%.
So then we go on. So what we do is we take that vibration that we have the 4, the 16, and I'm going to start off with the 4. This is a 4. And when I put it the 4th harmonic in, it changes your chart and changes the positions. And you have this cluster down here, 1, 4, right here. See it? This cluster. Mm-hmm. And what we go here, when we look at this, we look at the sun, the moon, and I'm just going to skip over Chiron, but then go to Uranus and Jupiter. We have this cluster here. And so how vibration astrology is read, it's read a little bit different in terminology than Western astrology. Like, you know, when we look at this, we're you know, Jupiter does expand and do things, and the moon is something of your past. It's about your past, what you bring forward from your past. And, you know, and it's not really, it has some emotional reflection, but it's your past bring it in front. And when we look at also your Uranus, it's something that's more spontaneous. It happens in the moment. And when we're going to add the Jupiter with that, and the Uranus expands in the moment, and it happens. But then if we look at this here, with the Chiron in Western astrology, you might have heard that, and Chiron is your wound healer. It's where you're always fixing your wound. Well, you probably kind of think I'm always fixing my wound. Well, in vibration astrology, it's more the truth in the matter. So I'm going to just put that over there. And so here that you have that truth in the matter with all this going on. Yeah, so what you're doing in that 4, your motivation and drive, you're pushing you to take the action and turning challenges into opportunities for change and personal evolution. Does that make sense, Kathy? Do you see anything else that totally makes sense with it?
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. And I would just say that like this says to me that this is you're a person who's always seeking truth and who's not
Mhm.
content to sit back and wait for, to accept what's being told to you. Like you would never have survived in that fundamentalist church. I mean,
No,
there's
No.
no way
Yeah.
with this.
no, I would have been burned at the stake.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. That Jupiter Uranus is enthusiasm for finding that truth, and with the sun and the moon there as well, it's like that's front and center in your life. That's what your life is about. So it's very strong.
Can I
Thank
jump
you.
in for a sec?
That's encouraging.
Leslie, do you still have a relationship of any kind with your family?
My father has cut me out of his life. Which is
Thought
fine.
that would be-
I'm fine.
Yeah, that's sad. That's a very Saturnian.
What was that?
That's Saturnian, and
Yeah.
cut Mars, you're going to think, something there's two things going on there, but
Yeah.
I can see
My
that.
mom is still in my life. She doesn't agree with me, but she supports me. And my immediate family, my kids and my husband are my freaking rock. I have the best home life. Like I'm blown away. The only reason I can be who I am is because of them. So.
Okay, so we're going to move on because we're getting on. So then I look at a midpoint in that 4, and you have a very tight midpoint here, Uranus and the moon and Jupiter. So, again, that's that spontaneous and, what you want to be doing there. You're bringing something from the past into the present, and you're expanding that. It really gets out there. It's dynamic, right? And you're doing that in that 4. You're pushing forward to get that done. And so that's very strong. You're going to see as we go along, this is going to come up again, this Uranus, moon, and Jupiter. And so then here again, here's the 16. So what I did is I moved the chart into a 16. And what the 16, I did this real quick I actually was spontaneously doing this. So the 16 carefully is thinking about your goals. So you do carefully think about your goals and what you want to do. You plan. You bring that together with that moon that connects the things from the past, the emotions, and the Venus contracts it to more of a beauty and love. And that's what you're looking for. And the Saturn brings that focus, to truly what matters, what's going to last. Okay. And so that combination creates a great drive for you to take meaningful well-being actions using your emotions and experience. So then I also took there and look at that. Is Uranus, moon, and Jupiter in that 16. So not only you do have it in the 4, you have it in the 16, that midpoint. And that midpoint is very tight. They're tight. The other one was quite tight, and this one at 14 is tight. It's not tight 0, 0, or but it's there and it's coming up twice. So you not only have it in that 4, you have that 16 that influences and adds that conscious evaluation of your drive. So you're conscious that drive that you have in that 4, you're always evaluating what you're doing. You're always checking on it. So that's a checkpoint. So, and I'm just going to go right through again. Now you have your 29, right? That 29 in Saturn, Neptune. And I just quickly did a 29 in Saturn and Neptune. And here you have another thing comes back up with that. Look who's over here. This truth in the matter, is coming back up with that Mars and Neptune. Oh, I have Saturn and Neptune. It's Mars and Neptune. Oh, I don't know how I did that, but that's wrong. So it is actually Mars and Neptune. So Mars is actually, going to be taking action on your ideals and your dreams. And then you're going to have this truth in the matter with that. Okay. And so that's where you get this coming in. And that's more on that, where you have this more deep.
Can I make a comment, Barbie?
Yeah.
That being all of those in Gemini, how that would express to me is why you wrote a book, Leslie.
Yeah.
You needed to write something. You needed to get out your experiences. That's what I see that as.
Yeah, and I was tired of people saying, "What's going on with you?" And I was like, "Here, read it. It's right here." I don't want to keep answering this question. I wrote it in a book. Go read it.
Yeah. So and so this is wrong here. So again, so I went over here and I did a 29 here, and you have now you have Mars, Sun, and Saturn. This Mars and Saturn is always doing the dirty work. This is what we call, that's the work we call the dirty work. And you got the the light of the sun right there on this dirty work that you're doing. So this is a midpoint, and this is pretty tight. It's at 3. It's a very tight midpoint. And it's combined with that 29 energy is action, drive with that Mars and the sun's, purpose and discipline with that structure of Saturn, bringing things from the past to the present, expanding your horizons in that 29, immersing in different paths and exploring beyond personal boundaries. That's pretty much what you're doing there. This alignment, pushes your purpose in action. So your 20, and that's what your 29 does. I didn't get to your 296 because, this was kind of a quick, but this is the highest in 296, and we can look at it real quick. And at 296, you've got this, we call this a red circuit. We call these circuits when they're together like this, in one big blob, right? And here in vibrational astrology, we can read these all together, and we have this Jupiter, which says expands in the past of your, but bringing things from the past into the present spontaneously, and you're taking action with it. And you're doing that in that 296. Now, there's another one over here that you have with the Sun, Neptune, and Mercury, and Venus, and it's pretty tight. And we look at, when you look at Neptune, it's your ideals and dreams, and you're connecting them in a beautiful way. And that's how we read. Right, Kathy, you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think that's where the book is coming from, because this energy is someone who's going to do things their way. They're not going to do things the way that everyone else has told them to do. It's a very, very individual, individual taking the lead and going with it. And then with that Venus Neptune Mercury so close, that's very much about writing and telling stories and making them more beautiful, making them, just telling them in a very, very eloquent, very articulate way, but that pulls people into the dream and shows them that.
Yeah, and then it's impulsive income right here. Again, we have this, and then we have some relationships going on with that. But the thing we want to add with this is that when we're looking at the zodiac signs, in vibrational astrology, we read that when we're looking at compatibilities, and here we're just looking at you, and so we're not really reading so much of the zodiac signs. We're reading the planetary alignments. And then what we were looking at, we're going to compare this with you, and when we can do that on another show, with any of your other survivors, and we want to see how that works, we can do a compatibility chart, and I'd welcome Kathy to come and read that with me. And we could do that as a compatibility chart.
Can I jump in again? Leslie,
Yes.
just so that you understand what's happening here is in vibrational astrology, and we're talking about harmonics, it means that we're multiplying the planetary positions by a number to create a different vibration. Okay? So when it was number 4, it was multiplied by 4. And then you look at where those planets land. This is multiplied by 296. And so therefore, the more multiplications, the higher the frequency. Basically, you're talking about vibrational frequencies, and that's what they're doing. And then the only way you can read it is by the planetary interactions themselves and where they land. And what we're seeing here is when you have a lot of planets together, that becomes a focus or like a blended energy. So they work together like a team.
Yeah.
And some work well together and some don't. So, for example, when Barbie was talking earlier and she said, look, you've got Mars and Saturn, it's causing your problems. If I read out of it, this is a cosmobiology textbook, but it's based on, thousands and thousands of charts, and they put them all down, and then they did an analysis, as the Germans do, and worked out the principles of it. The Mars-Saturn principle represents harmful or destructive energy, inhibited or destroyed vitality. That's what it stands for. So, and when you have the outcomes of that in a positive way are things like the more energy or more difficulties are overcome or vice versa. But the negatives are periods of impotence and weakness alternating with periods of brutal or ruthless progress and advancement in life. All will-directed activity meets complete resistance as governed by circumstances, tests of strength, disputes, separations, illnesses, and sometimes cases of death. So that's just the principle of those two planets working together.
Yeah.
So
Just
if you
like,
think about it, If you
Yeah.
think about it, and Saturn represents anything that like, there's more to it, but it's one of the things that represent authority over you. So it can be the father, can be your grandparents, can be, any sort of authority figure. So you, being Mars, being an Aries,
I don't know why it's not
ruled by
coming up.
Mars, you're going to constantly resist that. And it's coming up in this vibrational charts showing that these energies are part of your life destiny. You've had no choice but to be pushed through them. It's just like going through the mince grinder, you come out
Yeah.
the other end a different person.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How I feel.
So
I am.
just so you understood what was going on when you're going from one to the next, because it's like, well, hang on, where am I? Because I was
Yeah,
getting a bit lost.
I don't know vibrational astrology at all.
Yeah.
So me, Corey, Leslie, like what?
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what this means, but it's pretty cool. I love it.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Sounds good,
accurate.
right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not,
well, just to know that, you have these energies, and like personally, I'm a 11. I'm restless, right? It's pretty much, I'm just progressively want to do more and more. And my 11s, like you have that 4, 16, 29 and high 296. I have 11, 22, 11, 11. I'm an 11. But I'm 11, and the 22 is I want to do it with others. Kathy, you're 11 as well, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
we're
11.
both, and that's very unique. I mean, we're like hummingbirds. We don't stop.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We just go from flower to flower.
Mhm.
But this has been absolutely great, and I don't mind. And I would ask Kathy if we wanted to do a compatibility on one of the survivors. We could do it, Leslie or someone else, and we can do their chart and see how they
There's
compare.
no shortage of survivors. There's like
Yeah.
700 people.
Yeah. There's over 700 at this point.
Yeah, so there's plenty more people, but it would be cool to see Leslie and Todd maybe.
Did
Could
I
do the
see advertised that it's going to be Australia versus the world
Yeah.
on
Yes,
Survivor?
and we have some of our friends are on it. So representing the United States, we have Parvati, who is on the villains team with me. We have Sari, who is on the heroes team against me. And who else is there? Tony and
Tony.
and then is that it for Americans?
I think
I think
so.
so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Corey,
It's
you know
coming
this.
up.
Who else
It's coming
is?
up on advertisements on our television at the moment, starting 17th of August. So
And then we have one of our own, the Queen of American Survivor is Sandra Diaz Twine, and her daughter Nina is the Princess of Survivor, and she's an Australian Survivor player. So she's American, but she's on your series, and she was
Oh,
an
okay.
all-star on theirs. Did you watch, Corey? Did you watch Australian Survivor?
I watched the two Nina's 2 seasons. Yes.
One with Nina's, yeah. I haven't watched them yet, but everybody loves it, and it's 52 days versus our.
Amazing. It's like, yeah, it's crazy.
So it used to be when me and Leslie played, it was 39 days. Now it's only 26. But in
Yeah.
Australia, it's 52.
Wow.
And isn't it Fiji? Is it Fiji this time? Is that right?
It's
Yeah.
always in Fiji.
Yeah.
Always.
I thought that's always
It's
in
so
Fiji.
boring. They need to stop. I'm over it.
They need to
Yeah.
go
Oh,
back
I
to
should go
the
to
muddy
Tas-
places. And
They should go to the Tasmanian wilderness. That'd be too cold for everybody.
Yes.
yeah, so
But
Yeah,
I,
maybe
I,
the
what
Tassie
I- what I-
Devils.
what I-
Yeah.
but I'd like to, actually close up with the VA in the Western. If you could see that it really it didn't change, even though we read different languages, right? Totally different languages. It was the same.
So it's interesting because the story's written the same in all these different ways. And, like you live your own life, you can read it, and whichever language you have the ability to see, you can find the answers. And it's simply just written. It's really interesting. I want to thank you guys all for coming. I want to thank Barbie for doing that entire presentation on vibrational astrology, Kathy for helping, Luke for all your
Thank you,
insight.
Kathy.
Leslie, of course, for coming, and Corey for holding it down, representing Team Survivor China. I love that. And we were talking in the beginning before you guys all got here. I was like, man, it's inside baseball on 2 fronts because it's like astrology world, survivor world.
Do you have any questions, Leslie, that out of everything, do you have anything you'd like to sort of know a little bit more about, or before you head off, any sort of burning questions or something you might have come to find out, or
I don't know. I
we
don't
could
understand the planets very much. So when you were saying, and this is and that, and this is, I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Like, I just, in a condensed way, what are you seeing in a way that I could understand? Is that
Mhm.
selfish of me to ask?
No,
Oh,
you're talking
that is the
about
point of an
from your
astrologer.
chart.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
your chart, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to throw the chart back up again, Courtney?
Sorry.
No, this is
That's
this
no.
is why we go to school to like learn how to
Well,
And,
and
yeah.
I'm just like, I'm
So-
trying to, I was
translate it.
trying to write
Leslie,
down things.
Leslie, just so you know,
Elementary.
Yeah.
I've been doing astrology for now 42 years.
Wow.
So, I self-taught at 16, and I taught for a while and did a lot of different things, but now I'm sort of back doing it a bit more. And I'm that little bit older than you because you're just a baby.
Oh, I love to hear it. I'm usually the old lady, so thank you.
But okay, so in simple terms, what we look at is you've got, okay, how would I put it in simple terms? Astrology is not simple.
I
but I'm gonna
know, I know.
So,
I'm
so
sorry.
your chart indicates to me, if I had to put it, if I was to first look at your astrology chart, I'd look at a couple of things, like what Courtney said. She would look at the big three, which is the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. And what they mean is your sun is your soul. It's what you're born into. It indicates the person that you are. It's the essence of who you are. It's what motivates and drives you. Your rising sign or ascendant means this little, where it says 0 degrees Virgo, and Courtney can probably point because I can't do it. Basically, the chart is a map of where the planets are at the time you're born. Okay, so it means that you were born at 3:30 in the afternoon, and where that rising sign is, it sort of works in reverse of how you see it. That's actually east on the western side of the chart, and west is because it's. I won't go into the detail, but it's how it sits. And the top
Less
point
is
above
just the
is basically,
story. I think she's
yeah.
like
So
the jargon is like I think we dismiss the jargon a little bit. Is that what
Yeah.
you're asking, Leslie? Like
Yeah, it's kind of like when I talk to people about like theology, I have to like use language that you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like kind of the same thing. Just
so
Go
that's
back.
kind of like what we did
Yeah.
with here. So
Yeah.
it's like you translate it, right? So Aries, stellium, Sun, Venus, blah, blah. So physical competitor, you're full of courage. You're fierce, fit, and physical. You wanted to play, but you had a hard time lying to people. So this sentence, Aries in Aries Sun in the 8th house, squaring
Means
Cancer
the
Moon in
same
the
thing.
11th, it roughly translates to you can't really lie to people. You want to be a competitor, but you actually can't really. You care about people too much to betray them, right? So sometimes it doesn't even seem like I'm reading your astrology because I'm just telling you things. You already know these things about yourself, like you know it. Super fan, you wanted to play an adventure game, buried imagination, idealized deception, right? So like you think you see the people, you're like, I can be Boston Rob. Of course I can. Like I can do this. And you're like, you can, but you can't because you're Leslie and you're too kind, and I bet Rob couldn't lie to you. I bet he couldn't. All right. Then these other translations. So that's what we call, so this like whole thing we're doing today, we call it the chart delineation. So to delineate a chart is you literally translate a sentence. So the planet is like the subject or the noun. The sign is the adjective, it describes it, and then the house where it is the place where it happens. So let's here. So this is a good example. So you have Moon in Cancer in the 11th house. So Cancer means nurturing. Moon symbolizes like mothering or your home or your emotions. So I put nurturing emotions in groups. Cancer, Moon, 11th house. 11th house is groups. Moon is emotions. Cancer is nurturing. So that's the delineation for that. Just a simple delineation. And then making sextile to the ascendant and the descendant. Okay. That means that they're in flowing relation and creating opportunities with self and other, right? So you are able to, just by being yourself, you're able to just be loved by everyone around you and connect to people so easily and honestly, which makes you a player people want to get rid of because they're like, I don't want, they're going to give her $1 million. Like, forget that. Like how many people could walk over to this group and just get hugged by PG? Like who else is doing that? Do you think they're going to hug John Robert? They're not. Okay. They're not. But they could tell, they knew that you were good. And I think your sun is in Aries, so that's very primal, right? A primal identity. Very like Aries is like young, right? So you're very like earnest. You are kind of what you are. Same way I am how I am. People trust what I say, you know, because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to tell you I don't like you, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and Corey, feel free to chime in on this because I know you know. And then there's a couple other delineations in here. I didn't go crazy with them, but here's one. So Neptune in Scorpio in the third house. So Scorpio is a transformative energy. It's something that changes things. Neptune can symbolize empathy. Third house is your community, transformative empathy in your community, right? So it's just these like little makings of sentences. Is that kind of what you were
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah, that's great. That
Yeah, a
now
little, and that is sort of the work of astrologers, and that's kind of what I thought, because it's like Survivor is so inside baseball at this point to like,
Yeah.
if you don't watch the show to understand anything that I'm saying
yeah.
about like reward challenge, tribal council, blah blah blah. But then same thing for astrology. We're like, oh well, if you look at this hemisphere, and then in
Yeah.
conjunction this and the partile, whatever. So when you get a bunch of astrologers together, we're all speaking a crazy language, and then
It's so cool though. Like, I mean, I love this. I've had so much fun, but I didn't really.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And that, but it was kind of, before we've spoken about Leslie's listened to me talk about astrology for a long time, but it's kind of like, it's so hard to elevator pitch it or to try to like understand, like, it's not a belief system. It's really a language, and you have to learn the language, and then you translate the language, and then you're doing the work of interpretation, as you're translating. And, for me, at least, listening to Kathy and Barbie talk about vibrational, I'm like, oh, this is what we sound like to people. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I'm like,
little bit
where
like
are
that.
you?
Yes.
But that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Courtney, I'm just so freaking proud of you. You have
Oh,
really
I love-
crushed it, girl. I mean, you're doing so great. I'm so proud of you. This was
See,
like
this is my mom.
so fun. So fun.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming, Leslie. It means the world to me. Like, I wanted to kind of like bridge my little communities, and I was like, I told you,
love
I'm like, I know it begins with Leslie because everything does for me. Like, this is my day one girl. And
Bye.
and I love how the astrology speaks, like your chart, it speaks to, like, to the point where you're like, well, what does it say? I'm like, girly pop, you're living it. Like, we just ran through it, all of the things. Sometimes it's so literal that it's like hilarious. And one of the things that we do teach here, for anyone watching this back, I'll do a little commercial for our school, is we teach delineation, right? So you go through your first few classes and you learn exactly what I've said. It's like the planet is the noun, or the verb, it's like the subject. The sign is the descriptor, so it's an adverb or an adjective. And then the house is the object, or like where the thing happens. And so there's a grammatic structure to delineation, if you're being very strict, which we are here at the IA. Okay.
It's multi-layered, isn't it? Because I'm a student.
Yeah, Lydia was my student.
A well-qualified astrologer, and sometimes I was that person going, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? And because of Courtney's nurturing in basic and Barbie's Nat 1, I'm starting to go, right. It's like a jigsaw. It's like medicine. When you hear, I work in the medical field, so you hear doctors talking and people go, what do they mean by that? You get an x-ray back and you go, huh? What's that?
Exactly. So you have to learn the language, and then we get so caught up in the details and the nuance and the, like I missed one. Like Luke's like, oh, you missed Neptune across, and I'm like, no, because like that's where I'm at. But I'm trying to like also explain it so that
Yep. I'm jumping in
like,
for a second. You didn't miss anything. It's just there's so much in it.
There's so much.
It's not. But when I say it wasn't meant to be like, oh, you missed that.
No,
I wasn't being that. But what? For example, Leslie, jumping on what Courtney was saying, and then you guys jumped around. That the first thing I look at in your chart is this big red triangle. You see it in the chart? You got a blue one. You got this big red line going across, and it goes up to the moon in Cancer, and the moon in Cancer is where it's ruled. What made me laugh, you called yourself mama, and Cancer is the mother.
Mother.
right? The moon is the mother in the chart. Now, the other thing is, see that Jupiter Uranus down the bottom? Courtney, you might want to push it, point it out. Jupiter is your religion, and moon is also the family. Your Jupiter sits in opposition to the sun over here, and the sun is not that far from Saturn.
Jupiter
That's your
looks like
father.
a big 4.
Uranus is the planet that's pushed you to make the change. So I would have looked at this even as a child. If you'd come to me as a teenager and you were still in this religious environment, I would have gone, there's some
She's
big challenges
leaving.
up here.
She's out.
We'd know
outta
straight
there.
away you're
I
leaving.
would not have believed you. I would not
That's
have
right.
believed you.
And
I
you
was
wouldn't-
so
and-
in it.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't because it's not going to come till later. And it's funny because I knew you before I looked at your astrology. I lived this game with you. We lived through this together. This is like the thing that will always bind us. And then it's like, oh, wait, we have like the same birthday. Our birthday is like 1 day apart.
One day.
And I
yeah.
was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like she's an Aries. Okay, it's all coming together. And then I look and it's like, oh, look at that Venus, look at that Mercury. Like, of course we were friends. Like these people are crazy.
Yeah.
They do need an astrologer. And then there's like the positions of each planet in traditional, it means that they are, and we are speaking in a shorthand because this is a group of astrologers together. So when I say to them moon in Cancer in a T-square, they know what I'm saying. And
Right.
that's where it's like, that's the work of an astrologer, like to not only know all of that ourselves, but to be able to communicate it effectively.
Yes.
And I have, Mercury and Pisces, which so do you. We love to talk, and we're just talking all over the place.
So in simple
That's why I have
terms,
2
Leslie,
podcasts.
Exactly.
in simple terms, Leslie, you look at that moon T-square and say there's going to be tension in the family.
Mhm.
There's
Yep.
going to be, in
the
really simple
beliefs.
terms, you would say to someone, there's going to be tension in the family. Your mum and dad aren't going to see eye to eye all the time. This is the sort of thing you'd say. And it's probably over belief systems
Yep.
because it's Jupiter and
Absolutely.
Uranus. So when you start breaking it down, like when we do a consultation for someone like yourself, we don't talk in astro speak like you're talking about now. You take it and then you put it in a term or a phrase. And sometimes this is where astrologers get, questioned sometimes. Like, oh, you're asking all these questions. You go, no, I want to know how it's working. It's you ask the question because you want to know how it's evolving, because it can evolve in different ways. And usually if it evolves in a certain way, like when I said to you before, oh, I can see blah, blah, blah. You went, oh, yeah, did you know my past? It's because I asked the question and then I saw how it's working. I can go, okay.
Yeah.
And then I can put it into those terms.
Simply from the chart.
Simply from the chart. You don't need to know the person.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go for it, Liz.
You mentioned that I have more, I guess, awakening coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
cool.
because, okay, so Courtney, you might want to explain that at the moment, what happens is these planets don't stop moving.
Yes.
And Neptune, so around here.
So there's like your natal placement. So this little wheel, if you're looking, this is your chart as we've been talking about it. And then this outer wheel so this is a picture, your chart is a picture of when you were born, and that'll never change. And then the outside ring is the planets the day we started our game of Survivor, right? So those are called the transiting planets. So everything continues to move. So if we take a look at the sky now, those planets, they're still in position. So it would look like this, but a little bit different. So you have 2 outer planets hitting. So you were talking about Neptune and Saturn and Aries.
Yeah,
we're getting hammered this year, Leslie, because we are, and also so is Corey, and so is Luke, because you guys are Capricorn. So is Barbie; she's a Capricorn. I don't know Kathy's son. What is it?
No, it's Scorpio.
You're safe. Okay, you're gonna go through it. You just figure it out. But all the certain signs you're gonna have a transit to. So the theme of those planets. So Saturn is restriction, Pluto is destruction. They're gonna come and roll over your sun, your North Node, your Chiron. They're gonna oppose your Jupiter, South Node, Uranus.
It's actually Saturn and Neptune, not so much
Pluto. Saturn and Neptune. Sorry, Saturn and Neptune. So Neptune is like disappointment, can be fog, like something that comes apart, dissolving. are good Neptune words. So these themes, but it also can be glamour, right? Like you might get launched into something. You might start selling lipstick. Like we don't know, it's like, that's the thing. Because there's a higher and a lower expression of each of these things. And that's also part of the work of interpretation is talking to someone like, are you okay? You're having a Neptune transit. Are you going to be in a movie or are you going to have a drug overdose? Like those are both Neptune things. It's like, where are you in your life? Like, where is this person? Like, which of those things sounds more accurate? And then everything kind of comes together in all of these different ways. And so yeah, that's the work of it. But you'll definitely have an eventful next like few years.
Okay.
And so will I. So we'll be in it together as always. Sister Christian, me and you
We're
out in
not
the woods.
alone. We're definitely not voting each other out. This is
No.
great. We
You're
have
not
another.
Australian Survivor, sadly,
So-
are you?
No, not on that one.
No, they haven't reached over. They have a few different ones, but a few of our friends are going to be on it. That'll be fun. But anyway, so there's definitely more to know, but this is like, I just wanted you to have an introduction that was more than just me saying something. Sometimes it's helpful because there's so much to see. Sometimes for me, I like to collaborate with people. Like I like to hear what everyone has to say and to chime in on different stuff and to ask more questions. Cause also I know you, right? So like I feel like sometimes if you know someone, it's harder to really read for them. And it's like you get a fresh look from fresh eyes that they don't know anything. Luke doesn't know anything about you. And you were like, do you know everything about me?
I know. It was weird. I was like, whoa, wait. Yeah.
No,
So
it's just, that's just what Courtney said. It's I look at the chart and I read what the planets are telling me and then try and put it into a context that's like you said, how I can understand it. To add to the last little bit before I think I should disappear anyway, is that Saturn and Neptune are going to come up, but they're already opposing your Jupiter and Uranus. What that's doing to you, it's why you're here. Jupiter and Uranus are the two planets that rule astrology. So it's bringing in a new spiritual belief system, which is Saturn's the structure, Neptune's to do with your spirituality, and your Neptune's natally in your third house, which is to do with communication. Your Saturn's natally in your eighth house, which can be the occult, you could say. What it might do is stimulate you into looking at, okay, I want to investigate different types of spiritual systems. You may even find that you develop a strong interest in astrology after this, believe it or not. I didn't want to say that, but I look at your chart and I go, it might happen.
I was
You
just
might
gonna
think,
say the
I
same
want to know
thing.
more.
That's
What's that?
exactly that's exactly what I was just going to say. I was going to say if this piqued your interest, you would have a natural ability to learn this. It would come easily to you, and you would really connect with people and help them to understand.
Well, that's me. I'm all about connection.
And I do think in your other community, because I thought it'd be first for the Honoring the Journey community, and I was like, those are all people who are leaving different belief systems that are curious. So a lot of times, and people use astrology in therapy and stuff, just because it's like a mythological symbolic language for anyone who's sort of looking for meaning. It's funny, I have a reading with someone this week who I looked at her chart and I was like, this is really lovely. This is a person who would never come to an astrologer and she's only there because she won it as a prize. Because usually it's people that have like really terrible things happen come to astrology. I was like, wow, I've never seen such a thing. I've never seen such a nice chart in my life. Like everything's so beautiful. So like your chart has got like a lot of like, it's like there's things are happening. There's angst.
I feel the tension. I feel the tension. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm holding myself back. I feel like I'm holding myself back from something and I don't know why. And I'm afraid. And
that's your Saturn. It's afraid.
Yeah.
That's Venus, Saturn, Sun in the eighth house. Eighth house is malefic. There's a million things, but you're not crazy. It's like it is written in the stars. Okay. But
you don't have a situation where you got to move house at some stage in the next 12 months.
Okay. Interesting.
Do you or not? I'm just curious because
to move my house.
A possibility you might move, or there might be changes within the house. Minimum, or something like a renovation or a change. It may be promoted by your husband. Might have a different job or a different work situation they have to do. There could be an element of separation from him for a period. Could be to do with work. That sort of thing in the next 12 months. Yeah.
Okay. I love it.
But you
No,
have to take on
actually,
a bit more
that
responsibility.
tracks, but I can't talk about it. So.
Okay.
Well, you guys, this was so amazing. I want to thank everyone again, Leslie for coming, everyone for all your contributions. And we, maybe we'll see you here in the virtual hallways of our beautiful school. And yeah, so does anyone else have anything last to say? Corey, thank you so much for hanging in here. You're such a
Thank
champion.
you. Sorry for intruding. I just happened to see the link. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Oh, I love it. I'm so glad you're here.
I felt bad. I was
What
like the
have you
only
thought?
fan. I was like, sorry.
This is our first survivor themed gathering, and I think there'll be more. So please,
The more the merrier.
Yeah, how do you feel about astrology? Can we tempt you into our
What are
clutches?
your thoughts? This might be your first exposure to astrology.
It is. I was telling Courtney when I first joined, I was like, I have a friend that talks about it a lot, but I don't know anything about it. So it was very interesting. Like Leslie said, I need you to break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Little elementary terms to figure out what.
The babies. We're just a baby.
Yeah.
But
I would love to get a read at some point and listen and learn.
We're gonna be doing readings through the school. Corey, I'm more than happy to have a look at your chart. You'll have to send me your details and we can have a little chat about it. And then Leslie will talk more obviously too. But thank you so much, everyone. Let's all call
Courtney,
it a night
for organizing it. So
it was really nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet everyone. Thank y'all.
Yeah, you too, Corey.
Be safe.
All right. Good night.
Kathy.
Bye.
Bye.